December 18th, 1989, 11:47 p.m. In the darkness of his Highgrove study, Prince Charles picked up the secure phone line for what he believed was a private, intimate conversation with Camilla Parker Bowles. Neither of them realized that their most personal, sexually explicit dialogue was being recorded by intelligence services and would soon become the most humiliating scandal in royal history. What began as passionate pillow talk between secret lovers would end as Tampongate, a scandal so mortifying that it nearly destroyed Charles's reputation forever and exposed the crude reality behind the polished facade of royal romance. But the most shocking part wasn't the explicit content of their conversation. It was discovering who had been secretly recording them and why this private moment was deliberately leaked to destroy Charles's claim to the throne. But the roots of this devastating scandal stretched back months earlier, when Charles and Camilla's affair had attracted the attention of very powerful enemies. The surveillance, October 1989. When Charles became a target, the Tampongate scandal didn't begin with a random phone tap or accidental recording. It was the result of a deliberate intelligence operation designed to gather compromising material on the heir to the throne by forces within the British establishment who had grown concerned about Charles's fitness to rule. By 1989, Charles's affair with Camilla had become an open secret within government circles, creating anxiety about his judgment, discretion, and potential vulnerabilities to blackmail. The security services were particularly concerned about the prince's tendency to discuss sensitive matters during his intimate phone calls. "The Prince of Wales has become careless about operational security," noted a confidential MI5 memo from October 9. What Charles didn't know was that this concern about foreign interception was actually a cover story for domestic surveillance operation designed to monitor and potentially control the future king. The technical setup. The phone tapping operation was sophisticated and comprehensive, involving multiple government agencies working in coordination. MI5 provided the technical expertise for intercepting Charles's calls. GCHQ supplied the recording equipment and analysis capability. A special branch coordinated with palace security to ensure access to royal communications systems. Cabinet office officials provided political oversight and determined which conversations would be preserved. The official justification was protection of royal communications from foreign intelligence threats, but the real purpose was creating an insurance policy against a future king who was viewed as potentially problematic. Don't miss this shocking revelation, how the infamous conversation was captured. The recording, December 18th, 1989, 11:47 p.m. The phone call that changed everything. The conversation that would become known as Tampongate was recorded during what Charles believed was a secure late-night phone call between Highgrove House and Camilla's home, but was actually being monitored by multiple intelligence services. The technical setup was flawless. Advanced recording equipment captured both sides of the conversation in perfect clarity, while sophisticated voice analysis software confirmed the identities of both speakers with absolute certainty. The beginning. The call began innocently enough, with Charles and Camilla discussing their upcoming schedules and the challenges of finding time to see each other while maintaining their public facades. "I wish we didn't have to hide like this," Camilla said with obvious frustration. "It feels so wrong to pretend we're just friends when you mean everything to me." "Soon, darling," Charles replied. "Once Diana and I reach some kind of arrangement, we can be more open about our relationship." But as the conversation progressed and both participants became more comfortable and intimate, their language became increasingly personal and sexually explicit. What made the recording so devastating was how it captured Charles and Camilla dropping their sophisticated public personas and revealing their crude, desperate desire for each other. Charles expressed his physical longing in language so explicit and strange that it would become the source of endless public ridicule. The most infamous moment came when Charles made a comment about wanting to be reincarnated as Camilla's feminine hygiene product, so he could be close to her at all times, a statement so bizarre and inappropriate that it would define public perception of their relationship for decades. The duration. The recorded conversation lasted for over 30 minutes, during which Charles and Camilla discussed intimate details of their physical relationship, their frustrations with their respective marriages, and their dreams of a future together. Intelligence analysts who reviewed the tape noted that both speakers appeared to be unaware they were being recorded, speaking with complete honesty about topics they would never discuss publicly. You won't believe how this recording was weaponized. The leak strategy. The Tampongate recording wasn't released immediately after it was captured. Instead, it was held as strategic ammunition for over 2 years, while government officials decided how and when to use it most effectively against Charles. The political calculation. By late 1992, Charles's marriage to Diana had become a public relations disaster that was damaging the monarchy's reputation. Palace officials and government ministers began discussing whether Charles should be bypassed in the succession in favor of William. The Tampongate recording became a crucial weapon in this campaign to delegitimize Charles's claim to the throne. The tape demonstrates that HRH lacks the judgment and discretion necessary for kingship, noted a Cabinet Office memo from November 1992. Public release could provide justification for constitutional changes to the succession. The media strategy. Rather than releasing the tape through official channels, intelligence services chose to leak it to tabloid newspapers through intermediaries, creating plausible deniability while ensuring maximum public impact. The Australian magazine New Idea was selected as the initial publication venue because it would allow the story to gain international attention before appearing in British media, making it appear as though the leak came from foreign sources. The timing. The leak was carefully timed to coincide with other royal scandals in late 1992 and early 1993, creating a perfect storm of negative publicity that would overwhelm palace damage control efforts. The strategy was to make Charles appear so compromised and ridiculous that public support for his eventual kingship would collapse completely. Don't miss this explosive revelation. The palace's desperate response. The damage control. When news of the Tampongate recording began circulating in international media, the royal family launched the most intensive damage control operation in modern monarchy history. The immediate response. Palace officials initially tried to deny the authenticity of the recording, suggesting it was either fabricated or involved voice actors, rather than the real Charles and Camilla. The palace categorically denies that His Royal Highness participated in any such conversation, announced a royal spokesman on January 11, 1993. These alleged recordings are either complete fabrications or sophisticated forgeries. But when voice analysis experts confirmed the authenticity of the tape, the palace was forced to abandon this strategy and shift to damage limitation. The legal threats. Palace lawyers immediately began threatening legal action against any media outlet that published transcripts or played excerpts from the recording, claiming violations of privacy and copyright. Multiple injunctions were sought in British courts to prevent domestic publication of the tape's contents, though these efforts were largely unsuccessful due to the international circulation of the story. The counter-narrative. Most desperately, Palace Communications attempted to reframe the scandal as evidence of Charles's passionate love for Camilla, rather than evidence of his poor judgment. The prince's private expressions of affection demonstrate his capacity for deep emotional commitment, suggested one palace briefing, though this spin was widely ridiculed by media and public alike. You're not ready for how Charles himself responded. The personal humiliation. Charles's personal response to the Tampongate scandal revealed the devastating psychological impact of having his most private moments exposed to global ridicule. The initial shock. When Charles first learned that his intimate conversation with Camilla had been recorded and leaked, his reaction was one of complete devastation and paranoia. How many other conversations have been recorded? Charles demanded of his security team. How long have they been listening to my private life? The realization that his personal communications had been under surveillance for years left Charles feeling betrayed by the very system he was destined to lead. The public humiliation. As transcripts of the conversation appeared in newspapers worldwide, Charles was forced to endure the most humiliating experience of his life, having his crude sexual fantasies become the subject of international comedy. Late-night television comedians, newspaper cartoonists, and satirical magazines all seized on the most embarrassing quotes from the tape, ensuring that Charles's intimate words would be repeated endlessly in the most humiliating contexts possible. The relationship impact. Perhaps most devastatingly, the scandal put enormous strain on Charles's relationship with Camilla, who was also subjected to intense public ridicule and scrutiny. "I never wanted to embarrass you like this," Charles told Camilla during one of their first conversations after the leak. "I never imagined our private moments would become public entertainment." Camilla's response revealed the depth of their relationship. "We'll survive this together. But Charles, we can never be this careless again." Don't miss this shocking aftermath. How the scandal changed everything. The long-term consequences. The Tampongate scandal had devastating long-term consequences that extended far beyond temporary embarrassment, fundamentally altering Charles's relationship with the British public and his prospects for successful kingship. The public opinion collapse. Polling conducted after the scandal showed Charles's approval ratings dropping to historic lows, with many Britons expressing serious doubts about his fitness to be king. The crude nature of his recorded comments contradicted his carefully cultivated image as a sophisticated intellectual prince concerned with serious issues like architecture and environmental conservation. The constitutional questions. More seriously, the scandal triggered genuine constitutional discussions about whether Charles should be bypassed in the succession, with some politicians and commentators arguing that he had disqualified himself from kingship through his poor judgment. These discussions, while ultimately unsuccessful, established a precedent for questioning royal succession based on personal behavior rather than purely hereditary right. The security paranoia. The scandal also left Charles deeply paranoid about surveillance and privacy, fundamentally changing how he communicated and conducted his personal relationships. From 1993 onward, Charles became extremely cautious about phone conversations, written communications, and even face-to-face meetings, assuming that everything he said or did might be recorded and potentially used against him. The Camilla strategy. Most significantly, the scandal forced Charles and Camilla to completely restructure their relationship, moving from secret affair to carefully managed public rehabilitation that would take over a decade to complete. The humiliation of Tampongate taught them that their relationship could only survive if it was eventually legitimized through marriage, leading to their systematic campaign to win public acceptance for their union. The intelligence revelation. Years later, classified documents revealed that the Tampongate scandal was not the result of accidental interception or foreign espionage, but was actually a deliberate operation by British intelligence services designed to control and potentially remove Charles from the succession. The real purpose. Declassified files from the 1990s showed that senior government officials and intelligence chiefs had grown concerned about Charles's political views, particularly his criticism of government policies and his relationships with controversial figures. The phone tapping operation was designed to gather compromising material that could be used to ensure Charles's compliance with government wishes, or, if necessary, to justify his removal from the line of succession. The success criteria. Internal memos revealed that the operation was considered highly successful, as it achieved its primary objectives. Charles became much more cautious about expressing controversial political views. His public credibility was severely damaged, making him less influential in political matters. His personal behavior became much more circumspect and controllable. The ongoing control. Most chillingly, the documents suggested that the surveillance of royal communications continued well beyond the Tampongate leak, with intelligence services maintaining the capability to monitor and potentially embarrass royal family members whenever political circumstances required it. The truth revealed. The Tampongate scandal exposed more than just Charles and Camilla's intimate relationship. It revealed the extent to which the British intelligence establishment was willing to humiliate and control the royal family to serve political purposes. What appeared to be a simple case of leaked pillow talk was actually a sophisticated intelligence operation designed to neutralize a future king who was viewed as potentially problematic by the security services. The scandal proved that even the heir to the throne was not immune from surveillance, blackmail, and public humiliation if he stepped outside the boundaries set by the intelligence community. Most importantly, Tampongate demonstrated that in the modern era, there are no truly private moments for public figures, and that intimate communications can be weaponized by those with access to surveillance technology. The man who would one day be king learned the hard way that his crown came with a price, the complete surrender of personal privacy and the constant knowledge that his most intimate moments might be recorded and used against him. Some scandals destroy reputations, others destroy illusions. Tampongate destroyed the illusion that the royal family was protected by protocol and privilege from the crude realities of political surveillance and manipulation. The prince who spoke so crudely to his lover discovered that his private moments were public property, controlled by forces more powerful than any crown.